He laughed. Not a small laugh, not a nervous laugh, a confident, dismissive, almost mocking laugh, and then he said the one line that burned itself into my memory. Even if you tried to expose me, no one would believe you. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten me. He didn't even sound angry. He sounded sure, untouchable, protected. And that confidence, that arrogance, told me everything I needed to know. He believed he had already won. For months, I had been noticing things that didn't make sense, stories that didn't match, excuses that were too polished, a calmness that felt rehearsed. But every time I brought it up, he flipped it right back onto me. You're imagining patterns. Stop exaggerating. You're reading too much into things. He had a way of making me feel foolish, even when I was asking simple questions. But that night, when he said those words, no one would believe you. Something inside me hardened. He thought I was powerless, that I had no evidence, that he could shape the narrative however he wanted. He thought I would stay silent. He thought wrong, because what he didn't know was that I already had the proof. Proof that didn't come from his phone or his chats or anything digital he could delete or deny. This proof came from something much older, much more dangerous, his own handwriting, a quiet trail he didn't realize he'd left behind. And when I showed it, not just to him, but to everyone who believed his act, he didn't laugh anymore. They didn't, either, because nothing is louder than the truth someone tries the hardest to hide. When I met Adrian, he carried himself like someone who always knew what to say. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, he was calm, too calm sometimes. People trusted him instantly. He knew how to hold eye contact, nod at the right time, and say exactly what made people feel understood, and I fell for it. He made me feel seen in moments when I felt invisible. He remembered my favorite foods, my habits, my random fears. He paid attention in ways other people didn't. Everyone around me said the same thing. You're lucky. Men like him don't come often. But something inside me always felt uneasy, not in a dramatic way, not in a he's hiding something huge way. It was smaller, quieter, like someone whispering a warning in the back of my mind. The first red flag was subtle. Whenever he told a story, the ending changed. Not drastically, just enough to make me think I was misremembering things. Then he started explaining my own experiences to me. I'd say, "That's not what I said," and he'd reply, "Yes, it is. You just forgot." Little corrections, little rewrites. Then came the gentle put-downs disguised as concern. "I didn't tell you things because you get overwhelmed. You wouldn't understand this part. It's complicated. It's better if I handle decisions. You're too emotional sometimes." At first I thought he was trying to help me, keep me safe, guide me. But over time, I realized I was shrinking around him, not by force, by design. Every time I grew confident, he'd plant a seed of doubt. Every time I questioned something, he'd remind me I was overthinking. Every time I expressed discomfort, he'd convince me it was not that deep. And slowly, I began depending on his version of events, his memory, his judgment, his truth. But the real truth? His stories weren't changing by accident. He was adjusting them, testing the boundaries, watching my reactions, seeing how much he could shift reality before I pushed back. He didn't want a partner, he wanted control, and I didn't see it clearly until the day he slipped up, the day he forgot to hide something. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday. He stepped out briefly to take a call, and I went to grab a pen from his desk. The top drawer slid open easily, but it wasn't the drawer that caught my attention. It was the journal wedged between two books nearby, a thick, leather-bound notebook I had never seen him use. No title on the cover, no bookmark. But the craziest part? The notebook wasn't dusty like the books around it. It was recently moved. Something inside me whispered, "Check it." I didn't want to invade his privacy. I really didn't. But something felt off, and my curiosity was suffocating. I opened the first page. My stomach turned, not because of a dramatic confession, but because of something far weirder. He had written, "Version A. If questioned, say work emergency. Add detail about late meeting, mention coworker Emma if needed. Keep tone calm, avoid over-explaining." I flipped to the next page. Version B. Use. Forgot to text back. Mention low battery. Keep answers short. Deflect with humor. End with reassurance. Then another page. Version C. Use frustration. Say tired of being doubted. Raise voice slightly. Walk away if needed. Apologize next day. He had versions of stories, versions of lies, versions of reactions. Not notes for work, not reminders, but scripts. I kept flipping, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Page after page filled with excuses, timelines, alternative stories, backup explanations, emotional strategies. It was manipulation, written like a manual. Every doubt I ever had, every coincidence, every unnatural calmness made sense now. He wasn't reacting naturally. He was reacting based on rehearsed notes. But the next section hit harder. Predicted questions. He had written my name at the top. Under it, a list. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Answer. Protect her feelings. Why did you change the story? Answer. She misunderstood. Why did you get defensive? Answer. Stress from work. Why did you hide this? Answer. Didn't want conflict. It wasn't paranoia. He had prepared answers for questions I hadn't even asked yet. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a normal lie. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't something he slipped into. This was premeditated, a system, a pattern, a strategy. He had been controlling the narrative this entire time, and he didn't think I would ever find this notebook. He didn't think I would ever question him deeply enough. He didn't think I would leave, but he also didn't think I would keep this notebook. And once I discovered it, there was no going back. The real betrayal didn't happen when I found the notebook. It happened the night he accidentally used the wrong script. We were at a dinner with friends. Everything seemed normal, until someone casually asked him, "Didn't you say you were in Brighton last Friday?" He froze for a split second, a tiny pause most people wouldn't notice. But I noticed, because I remembered reading version B earlier, the Brighton lie. He recovered quickly. "Oh, right. Yeah, I had a meeting there." But his tone was wrong. It didn't match the version he rehearsed. He continued talking, adding details, but the more he spoke, the more he tangled himself. And that's when I calmly said, "You told me you were in Croydon." His whole body stiffened. He looked at me like I had just shut off the spotlight he was standing under. The table went silent. Everyone stared, waiting. He chuckled nervously. "Oh, right. I mixed up the days, but I wasn't finished." "Was that version A or version B?" I asked quietly. The look on his face? Fear, confusion, recognition. He knew immediately what I had found. He knew the notebook wasn't where he left it. He knew I knew. His eyes widened. The first honest reaction I'd seen from him in months. He whispered, "We need to talk." I smiled. "We will." But not like he expected, because I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to plead. I wasn't going to break. I was going to expose the pattern he built, not violently, not publicly humiliating, just truth, plain, cold truth. And that truth was enough to silence an entire room. When we got home, he rushed to his desk. He tore through the books, the papers, the shelves, looking for the notebook. The panic in his movements confirmed everything. I sat on the sofa, calm, quiet. He turned to me, breathless. "Where is it?" I held it up. He froze like a statue. "Give it to me," he said, voice shaking. "No, that's private." So were the lies. He stepped closer, tone shifting into manipulation mode. "You misunderstood." "Page 12, I interrupted. "The part where you listed which lies sound most believable." "Want me to read it out loud?" His face fell. "Completely." He tried again. "You took that out of context." "Context," I repeated. "You wrote explanations for questions I never even asked." He opened his mouth, but there was nothing left to say. I stood up. "You controlled every conversation, every argument, every reaction. Everything was rehearsed." He exhaled sharply, defeated. I continued, "And you told me no one would believe me, but they don't need to believe me." I held up the notebook. "They just need to believe you." His own handwriting, his own strategies, his own lies. He reached out weakly. "Please, don't show anyone." And that's when I delivered the line I knew would break him. I already did. He stumbled back like the words hit him physically. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply explained, "I showed it to the two people who believed you the most, your sister and your best friend." He sat down slowly, face pale, hand shaking, because he knew what that meant. They weren't stupid. They weren't blind. They saw the notebook for what it was, evidence of planned manipulation. His sister blocked him. His best friend told him he needed help. Both cut him off that same night. I didn't have to ruin anything. He ruined it himself. All I did was show the proof, and the silence that followed is something I'll never forget. I left peacefully. No slamming doors, no dramatic scenes, just a quiet exit, the kind he never expected because he always counted on me being emotional, confused, or guilty. But I wasn't any of those things. I was free, and it wasn't because he apologized. He didn't. He tried to justify, explain, deny. But none of it mattered. The moment I saw that notebook, the moment I read how he rehearsed conversations, the moment I saw how he shaped lies, I knew this. He never loved me. He loved control. And when you take control away from someone who depends on it, they fall apart. I rebuilt my life slowly, not with fear, not with anger, with clarity. I learned to trust myself again, to believe my instincts again, to speak without rehearsing someone else's comfort, to make decisions that didn't need approval. For the first time in years, my voice wasn't doubted. My reality wasn't rewritten. My truth wasn't dismissed. And that was the real victory, not exposing him, not proving him wrong, not making others see the truth. The real victory was finally seeing myself clearly and understanding one of the hardest truths. People only get away with manipulation when you stop trusting your own eyes. Don't silence your instincts just because someone speaks confidently. The truth always leaves a trail, and sometimes that trail is written in the liar's own handwriting.